What if being alone isn't your personality? What if it's a scar you never noticed? One that formed before you could even read, before you knew what safety was supposed to feel like? Because the people who prefer silence over crowds, solitude over socializing, most of them weren't born that way. They were trained into it, by experiences they never chose. And once you see the pattern, you will never look at yourself the same way again. 1. Insecure attachment. When love felt like a gamble. Imagine growing up never knowing which version of your parent you'd get. Warm one day, cold the next. No warning, no pattern. Your brain learns something it never forgets. Closeness isn't safe. This is insecure attachment. And it doesn't require an abusive home. It just requires inconsistency. When love feels unpredictable, you stop reaching for it. Not because you don't want it, but because hoping hurts more than letting go. So you adapt. You become someone who feels calmest alone. Because alone, at least, is stable. Alone never suddenly changes on you. 2. The emotions no one wanted to hear. You were upset and told you were overreacting. You tried to explain and got dismissed. You needed someone to listen, and no one really did. So eventually you stopped. You stopped expressing. You stopped expecting. And deep in the background, your brain wrote a rule you still follow today. Handle everything yourself. As an adult, you rarely open up. You process everything internally. When life gets hard, your instinct is to go quiet, not to reach out. Not because you don't need support, but because you learned at a very young age that it wouldn't be there. If you're still watching, something in this is landing. Maybe you're recognizing yourself in these words for the first time. Stay with it, because the next 3 patterns go even deeper, and the last one might be the most important thing you hear today. 3. Forced to grow up too fast. Some people didn't choose independence. It was handed to them before they were ready. You managed your own problems, calmed yourself down, figured things out alone. And from that, a belief buried itself so deep you've never questioned it. I can only rely on myself. It looks like strength from the outside, but underneath is a quiet discomfort with vulnerability, with asking for help, with needing anyone. Because in your experience, needing something felt like becoming a burden. So you stopped needing, or at least convinced yourself you did, and being alone stopped feeling empty. It started feeling safe. 4. A nervous system that never got to rest. Not everyone experiences the world the same way. For some people, especially those who grew up in loud, chaotic, or emotionally unpredictable homes, the nervous system adapted to survive. It became more alert, more sensitive, always scanning. And when you're always scanning, other people don't feel like company. They feel like work. So you started seeking the one place where the scanning could finally stop. Silence. Solitude. Your own space. For you, being alone was never avoidance. It was the only real recovery you knew. 5. Feeling everything too deeply. Some people simply feel more. More intensely, more often, more completely. You notice shifts in tone others miss. You absorb emotions that aren't yours. You walk into a room and already know something is wrong before a single word is spoken. Growing up like this, with no one to explain it or normalize it, is exhausting. So you found the only solution that worked: pull back, create distance, give yourself space to decompress. Not because you don't care about people, but because caring, for you, has always been a full-body experience. 6. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is pain. It's the ache of wanting connection and not having it, but choosing solitude, that's completely different. That's control. That's yours. Many people who prefer being alone are fully capable of deep love and real friendship. They just choose it carefully, selectively, with people who have earned it, because they've learned the hard way that not everyone deserves that kind of access. Here's what nobody says out loud. You were not born wanting to be alone. You adapted into it because at some point, alone felt safer than being misunderstood, safer than being ignored, safer than being let down again. Your mind did exactly what it was supposed to do. It protected you. But here's the question worth sitting with tonight. Not urgently, just honestly. Are you choosing solitude, or are you defaulting to it? Because those are not the same thing. Choice feels calm and clean. Default feels automatic. and often goes unquestioned for decades. You don't have to become more social. That was never the goal. The goal is simply awareness, to know when you're alone because you want to be, and when you're alone because it still feels like the only place you're truly safe. And once you know the difference, you finally have something you've never had before, a real choice. And subscribe, because we go this deep every single week.